All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Pagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast series. But the QA, that's the important part, as it obviously stands for question and answer. The Some Gadget Guy question and answer stream. Terrible for SEO, but it does get to the point. Because we like to make this an interactive conversation. We like to hang out. I like to kick my show off on a Monday, get our week started right. It gives us some time to kind of sort out the news from the week before. Maybe some news broke over the weekend, but I like to spend some time with some cool folks in this chat, and we can get in and talk about the tech as a hobby, as a lifestyle that really excites us. And this is the second podcast of 2026, and the news is already ridiculous. I never really got downtime from summer through Techtober, through the holidays, right into CES. There's still stuff from CES that I have not been able to share with you fine folks. Actually, this week, an embargo will lift, and it's not the biggest announcement from CES. It's not the most funded announcement from CES. It's not going to get massive marketing or advertising or a big blitz or a campaign. It is the nerdiest thing I saw at CES. And I can't even tell you about it today, but we got so much going on. We got a lot of tech talk going on. This week's show lineup of news and gadgets is pretty intense. Plus a little mini personal victory for myself. So I just want to shout out, we got some, and I have to apologize, Restream is being funky again. I honestly wouldn't mind just like a video audio check, because I have no idea what video signal or audio I'm sending out to y'all. As long as I'm vaguely viewable and listenable, we'll go with that. But I'm just seeing an incredible list of names here. We got Jimmy Fire Dragon, we got Ron GKP, JGJ already cutting to the chase. We know a major story, a major topic this whole year is going to be the RAM shortage. ARG. ER 1980, SGGQA, aka podcast named in collaboration with Sony. That's dirty and unfortunately accurate. This is the SGGQA 428. From Michael C2, does California have Rams fever yet? My daughter knows nothing about football. She doesn't really understand how the game is played, but Rams players and the Rams mascot have visited her school. So she's a Rams fan. She's got the towels, she's got t-shirts, she's got all this kit. No attachment to the game, but she's a Rams fan, so she's lit up about the Rams. We got some folks kind of yelling, darn it, Restream. Restream is just being a little funky with my chat right now. So I can see, what you see in the stream are all of the chats. Then I have a separate queue so that I can like select chats and bring them up on screen, and I'm not getting every single chat. So I have no idea what's going on, and I apologize. There will be some comments that I miss, because if I don't see them in the stream, then I might not be able to respond to them later, like when we're kind of in between news topics. I'm sorry, this is going to be a weird one, but I feel like we're going to have some good times with the news. We got Trin 2816, darn it, Restream. We've got J Million NYC, just with some cute little gold, please, gold, please, gold, please. I don't know what that is. And if that's a Twitch thing, I'm really bad at Twitch. We got John Gow. Happy Monday. I can't catch the show live today, so I'll see you on the replay, gang. Have a great week, folks. John submitting great stories over on the Patreon. Some of the stories we're going to be talking about this week came from John. Brian Billings wishing everyone a happy MLK Jr. Day. Martin Luther King Jr. This is the day. This is the day where, well, one, for a lot of us, we have the day off here in the United States. My wife is... Unfortunately, my wife always manages to time up her migraines and like just whenever her body like needs to be down, it'll shut her down. And she always seems to time that on like the third day of a 3-day weekend. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. I don't do this with the same consistency she does, but it's like, oh, I'm so happy. I'm finally going to get a vacation. And then the first 2 days of my vacation, I'm just out sick. And unfortunately, my wife is just primed for that. It's another reason I'm not going to be able to make this show go super, super long because I need to help with taking care of Lex and our dog. And there are play dates, and we're going to try and do a little softball practice. And I just need to let my wife rest. Right now, I think they're sitting on the couch, all three of them, watching K-pop Demon Hunters again. And I don't think Lex is bothered by that, but I know Marie's going to need some time off. So unfortunately, this can't be another 4-hour podcast. I apologize. But today is that day where, because we have that day off, a lot of people will rush to putting up inspirational quotes. A lot of people will sort of mischaracterize what Martin Luther King Jr. had to say about relations in this country and politics and race. And apparently, in breaking with the tradition that President Reagan set up, I don't even think President Trump is going to issue any kind of speech or comments on MLK Jr. Day. So at least we'll be spared that misrepresentation of what Dr. King actually said. Because I'm sure, as a student of history, Trump's comments on that would have been entirely compassionate and accurate. I'm seeing Lelouch X8. Hey Juan, good to see you again. What is up, Lelouch? Darcy saying good morning all, happy Monday. And Jimmy Fire Dragon saying looks like TK has just uploaded a video on the Rokid glasses. I'm really stoked. If you had a chance to go deeper hands-on, I have been so slow to like follow up with some of these other companies that I got to see on the show floor. I just, in keeping pace with some of the normal stuff that I had come in for review and then show floor and then stuff that's already in the pipeline, man, I'm getting my socks rocked pretty hard. So I would highly recommend everyone go and check what TK had to say about those Rokid glasses, because TK is a real one. Bionic Scoop jumping in saying, "One, what's up, Scoop?" Scoop has been sharing some of the most intense, incredible action photography on the Discord. I don't know if you all know, Scoop published a book, and it's filled with his experiences as a ringside photographer for wrestling, professional wrestling in Las Vegas. And it's again, you're gonna look at those photos and like, well, how did he do that? Scoop is a jerk. Like, that's too good. You're too good. You're too. You make me feel bad about my own photography prowess. So I hate your face, but I love everything about you. All right, and I don't know how to pronounce your name. Furchenvel. Furchenvel. Hey, Juan. Hey, Furchenvel. And Grounded Tech, no cap, no lie. Grounded Tech is absolutely spot on. Scoop's photography is so damn good. Okay, I got to knock out a little housekeeping, and this week's housekeeping is going to be a bit different. One, I've got something very traditional. Let me pull this up here. Let's see if screen share is working with Restream today. I didn't test. Hey, there's my web zone. All right, first of all, I got this video out. I'm always really excited to share these kinds of products and developments. Title of the video, your phone could be your laptop, but is this new Next Dock an upgrade? Question mark. Yeah. I am always stoked to spend a little time with a new Next Dock. The idea being the ultimate laptop hub with a screen, a keyboard, a trackpad, a battery, USB hub, audio ports. This is an empty shell that you plug another device into that actually functions as the computer. And in the thumbnail, I'm using I think that's the Pixel 9 actually. My Pixel 9 is the one that I'm testing beta builds of Android on. But of course, this would work with Moto Ready 4. I know it's not called Moto Ready 4 anymore, but they made us use that stupid name for so long that now I can't remember what it's actually called. It's like Moto Screen Share, something really stupid that you don't know what it's really doing because it's a full-fledged desktop environment. The Honor Magic Desktop, Huawei phones can do this. I'm trying to think. There's probably some others that also have like a more desktop grade environment. So you plug the phone in and like you can use it more like a traditional Windows style computer. But this is one of those accessories that is broadly it's broadly useful for almost any kind of tech gadget that can put out a video signal. So you could use it as a portable monitor for a camera. You could plug in a tablet. You could use it as a second screen and keyboard if you wanted to for another laptop. I love them for testing out my my mini PC is actually plugged in over there. I can't hold it up right now. I'm reviewing the new Geekom also. So when I build a PC or a mini PC, instead of trying to set up a full like desktop and keyboard and mouse, I grab a next dock and I plug the mini PC into the next dock and I do all of my initial testing that way. They are insanely useful. Oh, also the biggie, of course. I love carting one of those around with my Steam Deck. Like my mom will get to play games with my daughter. Like she played Shredder's Revenge, 2 controllers, next dock, plugged into the Steam Deck, and they just went to town. So I'm a huge fan of those types of products. I think they are there's such a huge variety of uses, and they make every computer you already own just a little bit more functional. This is a slightly different next dock where there are some pros and cons. From the last generation of next dock to this generation of next dock, quite a bit has changed, including the price. So I put the review out there, and it's actually doing pretty well. I'm kind of surprised that, again, every time I do this as a concept or as an idea or as in a video, it gets a lot of negative attention. It gets a lot of people like, well, why won't you just buy a cheap Chromebook? Because those people are really dumb. If that's the only reply you can kind of contribute to that discussion, then you aren't paying attention and you don't know how powerful phones have gotten, and you're just really bad at tech. But there are some criticisms to levy at this new next dock. I'm getting a bit cheeky about that. I get very defensive of this because I feel like Western tech reviewers have completely miseducated their audiences about what compute power actually is. Because I don't care what shape your computer is. A phone thing can only do phone things. It's a phone shape. It couldn't possibly do anything but phone stuff on a phone shaped computer. And that's the kind of stuff that drives me crazy, because there's a huge population of people that will never catch techie, nerdy videos like mine who don't know that they have. Like maybe they've got a 2021 Motorola Edge, right? I'm just kind of spitballing here. Maybe they've got an older phone and they need a computer for their kids to do schoolwork. And so many people are like, but it doesn't have all the apps and stuff. And you're like, I don't care. My daughter does all her schoolwork in a browser. As long as she has a mobile functional browser, she can do all her schoolwork. And there are huge, huge chunks of the population whose needs are much, much lower, and they do not know that they probably have all the compute power they need in their pocket. Or they might even have an old phone kicking around, and they've got a ton of unused compute power that they could be putting towards their family, their family needs. And it's the techies that come running out of the woodwork to go, no, but it's not good enough yet. No, you can't make it exactly the same as the way that I use my computer. So because it's not exactly perfect 100% and better and cheaper, then I don't think you should recommend it to anybody. And those techies just get muted. Like, if that's literally what you contribute, you will not see a lot of the comments on that video because I just shut them down. I get real pissy about that. Like, don't step on my dreams of helping people do more with their gadgets for less money. From Grounded Tech. Yeah, but can the latest phones open my apps quick enough? Needs to feel faster, man. Oh, I don't know. This animation engine is different than what I mean, OnePlus betrayed me in Oxygen OS, but One UI is probably gonna be Samsung-y. I don't know. It's so dumb. From Rob, I bought one. I plan to use it mostly to play emulator games. I'll use the USB-A ports for my SNES controllers and run the emulation through Fullroid X on my Vivo. I love it. I didn't show a clip of it this time, but also if you get one of those like NES minis or SNES minis, I used to have one. I gave it to my wife's sister because she was just like, it was this funny conversation. She's not like a hardcore gamer, but she was like, you know what I really miss? I really miss those games from like my Super Nintendo. And I was like, I'm not using this. Here you go. So I gave her my SNES mini, but that is such a low power little board of a computer that even something like that you could plug directly into a next dock and power the next dock that way. Again, it's so flexible, all the different things you can do with it. I love these kinds of concepts. Um, Ooh, command control device. Last year I bought an 8K 30 hertz capable USB hub with the purpose of testing desktop mode with dozen of Galaxy devices that I got, especially on AOSP. I love that is super nerdy. I, and also whether or not Dex is finally getting resolution aware. Because that was one of the main things I loved about Moto Ready for was I could plug it into my ultra wide, I could plug it into my 4K display. I didn't have to install Good Lock and jump through hoops. Moto went, oh, the resolution is this. Maybe we should just support that resolution. And then it just did it. And all the people like, it should just work. Good Lock is something that gets in my way. It does enable what I want it to do, but to me, being aware of the resolution of the screen that you're plugged into is pretty basic. Like, that should be something that just works. Yeah, Brian Glaze, exactly. It's almost like they don't want people to use their phones for more. That's funny. It seems like a business model is what if you bought four computers that all roughly had kind of similar performance envelopes so that you could do computer thing on your computer and laptop thing on your laptop and tablet thing on your tablet? From Arthur Lee Brown, I work at Best Buy, and most of the people who buy computers are looking for something for simple work and web browsing, so most of them would be well suited with a phone and a dock, so I see where you're coming from. So, and you're getting the experience of people that are able to go hit a Best Buy and shop for products. My wife's family lives in rural New Mexico. I have family across the state, some in more rural areas, most of them in like city centers, and they're doing pretty well. But even the families that are doing okay, especially with what's happening right now, component pricing, computer pricing, it's very similar to what happened in the pandemic where the constraint on components is causing prices to skyrocket. Even if a family seems like they're doing okay, there is this huge gap in fulfilling all of those daily computery needs that are really low level. Web surfing, doing schoolwork, working on some documents. Like, this is not high level stuff. This is not, you need the 9 series CPU from Intel or AMD and at least a 5070 Ti. Like, this is really mainstream stuff. Really mainstream stuff is easily tackled by a mid-ranger 10-year-old laptop. And let me tell you how much more powerful your phone is. And I just feel like we're as techies, not the people in this chat, because I feel the people in this chat are smarter than the average bear. And also, I know for a fact that all the people in this chat are like the sexiest nerds out there. Like, they are hot stuff. I'm not pandering to my audience at all. But we're doing a terrible job as techies of sharing better information and educating consumers on their tech. It's just like, it's just straight facts. There's so much more people could be doing to help save money, still get their work done, still find some entertainment. Again, streaming a movie, playing a game. Like, your phone is actually pretty good at this stuff. And we're not getting that message out there. Instead, we're telling people like, well, you need a phone that has 7 years of software support, but also flip your phone every year because then you get the best deals with my affiliate links. But you can't buy a phone that doesn't have 10 years of software support. and that's not it. We're not doing our job. We're not getting it done. So, just one more. Arthur Lee Brown, it's confirmed. Juan thinks I'm sexy. You heard it here, folks. It's not that I think. It's that I see you in this chat. I know. Sports fan reacts. I fixed my need for a laptop by using my old broken S22 Ultra, and Dex also saved me $300. You shared a photo of that, didn't you? Again, beautiful little setup. Super, super simple. It's like, I think it's like a TV with, there was like an Amazon box next to it too. Phone plugged in. It didn't look like anything was on the phone screen. It was just kind of glowing randomly, but Dex up in its own, up in full glory. Like, I'm so tired of waging this argument with the people who watch tech videos, which means they're supposedly tech enthusiasts arguing against this idea. It's so tough. It's so tough. Future is here. I'm just joining and you're calling me sexy. All the reasons to keep coming back. And Brian Glaze, Juan knows we're sexy. Love it. All right, so folks, that was entirely way too much time to spend on my personal housekeeping. I have a couple other things, and I'm gonna get a post out on the Patreon too. But there's one other bit of housekeeping that I am a little anxious to share with you, like good anxious and nervous anxious. A while back, I shuttered a community on Reddit. I was viscerally opposed to Reddit's change to API usage, to how they were treating moderators. The site exists because of the free labor of all of the people who participate on Reddit. They were going to sell off our user data to Google, all of the behavioral data. They were actively employing business strategies that were emulating Twitter. I really feel like Reddit took a dive. And the few times that I've poked around and gone back to see if I could doom scroll Reddit, it is just a wasteland of bots and recycled content. It is not a fun place to be. I know you can still dig through and find the teeniest little communities that still have like passionate moderation and stuff, but that is so much work. Where Reddit used to be a fun place to explore and stumble your way through new communities, now it's galling, like how obvious the drop in quality has been. Well, before Reddit, there was this silly little site called Digg. And I really liked Digg. I liked Digg better than I liked Reddit when the two were kind of up and coming and became sort of rivals. And then Digg, I think, got a little too big, a little too fast, and tried to play into investors and money and acquisitions, and it completely disintegrated. But what's hilarious is one of the originators of Digg, Kevin Rose, has managed to secure enough funding to sort of take Digg back. And now Digg is operating in beta, but it's more like a proper Reddit competitor. So the little community that I had set up on Reddit, I moderated this community for about 10 years. Several of those years were very unsuccessful, and I had to reboot the community and reset it. But the idea of Reddit/r/glowing rectangles was a place to share content we feel deserves more attention in the tech space. Glowing rectangles was a labor of love. It was not the me subreddit, right? A lot of higher level, I'm barely a medium-sized channel at this point, but a lot of higher level YouTubers will have a subreddit and it's all about them. That is not what I'm trying to accomplish. I wanted a place where self-promotion was allowed. Because you go to any major community and you post your own stuff and everyone flips their ish. Like, oh, you made a thing and no one watched it and you tried to tell people about it? How dare you? And that's not what the internet should be? Like, you made something cool, you're proud of it. I want you to tell people about it and I want you to share it. I don't think you should have to build a ridiculous following on social media so that other people will share your stuff for you if you made one thing and you're proud of it. Also, there are tons of creators out there who are not getting the attention they deserve. If a Mr. Who's the Boss or a Marquez sneezes, there's an army of sycophants and an army of bots that are sharing that stuff like crazy. And YouTube's algorithms already point people towards that kind of content above everybody else. The platforms are rigged against discovery of new stuff and sharing and building of new careers. You get a little boost like when you first start posting on YouTube, like, ooh, this is new, let's send it out, let's see if it's hot. But then after that, if you can't bring an army of people to YouTube on your own, then you're DOA. Glowing rectangles is a way to try and circumvent that. But I had to shut that community down because I really hated what Reddit was doing, and I can't sleep at night if I'm supporting just active weaponization of social media, which is what the CEOs of like Twitter and Reddit seemed like they wanted to accomplish. Digg is back. So, if I just kind of reshare this, there's this funky little community on Digg. What is the web address for this? It's digg.com/glowing rectangles. And there are already 22 members. Woo woo! And I am so excited to say that if I go by trending, I posted a bunch of stuff just to kind of get the ball rolling on some stuff to check out. But Bragster has a post up. Future It's Here has a post up. Bryant Billing has a post up. People who are a part of this community are already sharing content on digg.com/glowing rectangles. So we're gonna give it a try. I have no illusions that Digg is another site that's sort of operating right now on investor and startup money, and eventually they're going to have to do ads or subscriptions or some other monetization. I bet at some point we're going to have to face conversations about, our user data getting trained for AI. Already there's some drama with communities that were on Reddit being moved over and who gets to own what, or should someone who got there first get this. All messy. Super big problem. But in the way that I found Lemmy, which is sort of an open source federated version of Reddit, in the same way that I found that Lemmy really couldn't achieve the same kind of discoverability, Digg is getting that little bit of a Threads moment, right? Where Reddit, people are using it because they've been using it. There's a momentum there, but there's still a lot of frustration with how Digg is operating and how the moderators work. I mean, how Reddit is operating, how the moderator system works, and how the site as a platform as a whole treats users and moderators. So right now there's this little surge, and if glowing rectangles can be revived over there, that would make me really happy. The idea is we want a place where people can discover this content, and this little platform can be an incubator. I don't expect that things on my community are going to just explode. But if people are surfing this community and they say, "Oh, that's a cool topic. Let me share that with a bigger community." We want that spread. And Lemmy is too fractured for that kind of interlinking discoverability. Digg could be the answer to this issue. So I hope people will check out digg.com/glowing rectangles if you submit a post. Like, for example, I heard TK Bay just shared a video about smart glasses. That would be a perfect video to share to digg.com/glowing rectangles. If people are looking at digg.com/glowing rectangles and say, hey, that's a cool post, let me share that with digg.com/technology, that is huge exposure for a video to give it a little nudge, to find more audience, and then maybe more people subscribe to TK Bay's channel. And that is a benefit because then we get better content. We get more content from dudes like TK Bay. That's what we want. We want to be that tip of the spear. We want to be that tiny little clump of snow that starts rolling down the hill and becomes a part of an avalanche. And that's what I hope glowing rectangles can be. And I hope that if you subscribe and follow glowing rectangles and kind of peruse the content that's being distributed, that you find new content creators, new tech commentators that you're gonna love. That's always been the mission. It's not me. You will see my posts on there. I'm currently the number 3. I'm the number 3 on my own subreddit. My goal is always to be in the top 5. But I'm competing fairly, because every time I share one thing from myself, it's usually coming alongside like 4 or 5 other posts from creators that I really respect and admire. One more time, digg.com/glowing rectangles. Give it a spin. I think you'll enjoy the flavor of this community, and don't be shy. I need some help. Excuse me. I have an idea for a banner image. Like right now, let me screen share it back one more time. So I've got like a little hand holding a phone that just says GR on the phone screen, but I need a larger square image for the community. I have an idea of trying to just hold like a laptop and a tablet and they're glowing, like just with nothing on the screens. But if anyone has ideas on a better banner image for the community, I can't use what we used on Reddit because it's a different kind of layout and profile. So the banners there were those really long horizontal strips. On Digg, it's a small square. I need a square image that can kind of fit this idea. So yeah, if you have ideas on what a cool banner might be, or if you just want to mock one up yourself, please no AI art. Like I'm thinking of making like a real photo of me holding laptops and tablets and stuff. But please drop some comments or drop some ideas. I'm tentatively excited about spending time doing this again. It was so much work moderating the original glowing rectangles. I've got a lot on my plate, but I want to give this a try. I think it's important that we put our time, our money, and our effort where our mouths are. That sounded really gross. When I say it matters that you act, you love this content creator, you watched one of their videos and then you do nothing, you're never gonna get a video from that content creator ever again. If you watched a video from that content creator, you thumbsed it up, you left a comment, and you shared it on Mastodon, you might get more from that content creator. It matters what we do. And I love living in this space and spending time with all of these people. Even if I'm not getting to talk to them, I'm watching their videos. It's how we kind of communicate with each other sometimes. So it matters to me that we act more than we complain. I've been complaining about YouTube for a while now. I haven't been acting as much as I wanted to. And I'm willing to put my time towards this if other people seem to enjoy it and they contribute and they participate. So I hope you participate. I think it'll be fun. Oh, Future, it's here. As soon as I can figure out what, that is an awesome offer. I am absolutely going to take you up on that. Future, it's here would be down to help moderate. Right now, it's still super beta. My ability to like add moderators and stuff is not fully functional. But I will absolutely take you up on that when we do. So Michael C2, this is another problem with Digg right now. Michael C2 says, I just tried to post TK's glasses video, but I got a warning that someone posted a similar article already. That might be user error since I don't know what I'm doing, admittedly. Anything that's tech related is similar. Oh, someone's already posted a similar topic about this. You can ignore that for now because there is very little content actually publishing. And so when I've gone through those, like I posted my next doc video, right? Someone's already posted similar content to this. And I went and looked at the things that they said were similar content. And it was like a laptop review and a Pixel video, had nothing to do with the next doc. So for the most part, you can ignore those. And also, even if it is shared on another community, share it here too. Like if TK's video is already on our technology, Obviously, that's in reverse. We want to be the ones who share that kind of content from medium and smaller size channels first, but there's nothing bad about sharing that on another community. I'm cool with that. You're going to see the same post on like 6 different communities because right now there's so little content actually on Digg. They are not as populated as Reddit. So share away. Michael C2, I'll refresh later. Please, finish the submission process, and then also when you submit, you can also click use the title of the link to fill in the title on the post, and that way you don't have to type all that stuff in. You just copy the link into the post share, and then it should pull in all the information from the video or from the article. It doesn't have to be YouTube. If you find an article on a website that you want to share, it should pull all that information in. So, oh, Fat Produce, what's up, Andrew? He just joined the community. I love it. And actually, Andrew, this is another one that like, you were always bouncing around and chatting about like content and stuff like that. I think you might dig it too. So, let me get that down. So, it's already 9:35 and I can't go super long. So I'm gonna try and do a shorter burst on some of these news articles as we get. The news block is pretty heavy, but there's a flow to it that I think y'all will understand when I actually go through these. Please pardon if I'm not spending quite as much time going through comments because I promise I have to take care of Marie today, and I can't go super long. So everything that we're going to be talking about this week, all of the show notes, the Digg, the link directly to glowing rectangles, my housekeeping, everything's going to be available on this week's blog post on somegadgetguy.com. And also, it's just the plea, because I'm going to be kind of abbreviating some of these stories, it is very important to me that you give these articles some traffic. So it's not just I'm reading you the news and you're using that to supplant this information or supplant the relationship with these websites. It is very important to me. I'm sharing these articles because I hope you'll read them because I think they're quality articles. The internet, like I just said, the internet survives. Human authorship on the internet survives through action, not just through sort of seeing a headline on a social media site and thinking you got the story. It really matters that you take that one little extra step to kind of click on something and get to get to the story. Let me get this out of the way. And our first story is part of a continuing follow-up. I have been increasingly on the side of politicians like Elizabeth Warren talking about how we might need to break up big tech companies. They need more scrutiny. They need more regulatory action. And one of the major stories we've been following has been Google's antitrust case over search. So there was a landmark ruling that Google was engaging in anti-competitive business practices with their search products. This immediately dovetailed into conversations about AI. The original lawsuit wasn't really about AI, but AI was brought up a lot during the ruling on this lawsuit. And unsurprisingly, now we're starting to see this sort of bubble shrink. Like, we're not seeing the AI bubble burst. But when Apple says, we're not going to invest in data centers and cloud AI systems and train all these models, it's not economically viable for us. There's not enough benefit in AI. Instead, we're going to use Google's Gemini to supplant all of that work. And eventually they might train up their own models. I don't know, it just takes the pressure off. AI for Apple is worth about $1 billion a year, right? So they're going to pay Google about $1 billion a year so that Gemini can fill in their gaps for them. The flip side of that is, just to be the default search engine on an iPhone, Google was paying Apple $20 billion a year. So we can see Google's ability to muscle out competition and get preferred collaborative deals with other companies is enormous. So there is no competition in this space because Google can muscle out competition. If you like ChatGPT better than you like Gemini, well, Apple has decided you're going to use Gemini, right? Because they're also getting a preferred deal in the licensing. I really do believe that Apple wanted someone to pay them to be the default AI. I think that's why Apple slow played AI. One, it's expensive, and two, just like search, what if OpenAI was paying us $20 billion a year to be the default AI on the iPhone? Wouldn't that be great? I think that's really what Apple was trying to accomplish. Instead, that kind of backfired. But we can see it's a 20-to-1 difference in what Apple considers the value of AI to be. So Apple could pay Google for 20 years and only make up 1 year of their previous search deals. That's how much more valuable search is from Google. Anyway, I digress. This is coming by way of BBC.com, written by Lily Jamali. Google appeals landmark antitrust verdict over search monopoly. Google has appealed a U.S. district judge's landmark anti-ruling that found the company illegally held a monopoly in online search. Quote, as we have long said, the court's August 2024 ruling ignored the reality that people use Google because they want to, not because they're forced to, Google's Vice President for Regulatory Affairs, Lee Ann Mulholland, said. In its announcement on Friday, Google said the ruling by Judge Amit Mehta didn't account for the pace of innovation and intense competition the company faces. So, you just heard all of those, like all of the details that I just put in on Apple's deal, right? So where was that fierce competition for end users, for iPhone users, for iPad users, for Mac OS users? Apple and Google decided for you, your default search is going to be Google. We know most average consumers aren't digging into those settings to switch their search, right? It's whatever you kind of default to out of the box. That's the reason why Microsoft got tagged for Internet Explorer. Remember back in the day, the EU said, no, you can't just be the default in the computer. So when someone turns on a new computer, they interact with Internet Explorer. There was a splash screen that popped up and said, what browser do you want to install? When Microsoft gets tagged for that, it seems to stick. Microsoft's reputation in this space is like that. But with Google, for some reason, no, it's there's so much competition for search out there. Tons of competition. There's like little competitions all over the place. It doesn't matter that, even when you install another, another browser, for example, it's probably going to default to Google search. It's just a wacky aspect of this market right now. So the language coming from these lawyers is reductive and self-serving. Obviously, they're protecting their client. They're filing an appeal. There's going to be an appeal on this ruling. But these are exactly the kind of regulatory and legal actions that we need to see to try and rein in what a massive data broker like Google can do. I think we are past time carving out chunks because I think there are conflicts of interest when AI can rip off all of our content. AI summary is another one of those lies where they're stealing content from human authors and then there's a teeny little link. Oh, it's okay, we cited our source. There's a teeny little link after pages of AI text you scrub through, but you can go to where the information was originally published. So they're depriving humans of traffic, and that's how we generate revenue and how we generate income. And they're also leveraging their size and their scope and their reach with these preferred deals with manufacturers like Apple, and they still have their toe on the scale. Is that the saying? I don't know that that's the saying, but they're still, for the competition against the iPhone. Well, that's Android, which is largely dominated by Google Play Services builds of Android. So it seems to me, as a layperson, I am not a legal expert guy, smart lawyer dude, but it would seem to me that all of their actions And even some of the language in their reply, their retort, filing this appeal, would actually kind of verify that Google has an outsized influence over the entire web browsing, AI search, and advertising economy. And that the pressure they can leverage because of that is inordinate, and it prevents competition from really taking place. Is it thumb on the scale? I didn't. Is it, not toe on the scale? It's thumb on the scale. Okay, that sounds better. WX Romer. I appreciate that. Oh, and Kathy, looking fine, our dear nephew, and so smart. Everyone say hey to my Aunt Kathy. She's good people. She says nice things about me on my stream. Here, let me get this out of the way there. From Arthur Lee Brown, Google. Sure, we're used by 90% of the world, but there's tons of competition. Again, see, Arthur, that's like that's the reason why we need to examine the business practices of these companies. If we just let their PR speak kind of get the word out, then that's not a tech education, and that's not going to help us improve products. The only way these things get better is through competition, so they have a vested interest in preventing competition. Another continuing story. A lot of these are going to be follow-ups. It's just the way that our news cycles are kind of going right now. I've mentioned on this podcast several times, I have zero faith in cloud data center AI as a viable business model. I think it is largely an investor bait rug pull kind of scam. Don't take investment advice from me, because right now, like, tech stocks are to the moon, right? But it seems like we're all racing towards who can keep their money in the longest, get the most money, and then pull out as viciously as they can before the market completely implodes and deflates. That to me seems to be the business model of AI, because we're already into our fourth reframing of AI. AI is a language model, then generative AI making images and videos, then agentic AI that can operate on your behalf. And this year at CES was all about physical AI. So every year we seem to change, we move the goalposts on what the hot new sector of AI is going to be. And on top of all that, all of the companies spending billions of dollars on development, on infrastructure, sucking up electricity, eating up all our RAM and solid state drives, all of these companies, those investments in AI aren't generating revenue to the point that we'll see a profitable business model. And every time that we call them on that, well, it's, oh, well, what we need to do is scale up even more, and then the AI will get better, and then we'll generate profits. Which doesn't account for the years of infrastructure investment, and means you've got to spend way more money, and still no one's seeking it out to use it. I think the free stuff has already kind of satisfied the curiosity of people who like to tinker around with AI slop. And then beyond that, every corporate initiative seems to have failed massively. So, I've brought this up before. This is gonna sound familiar, because this is not the first time we've seen a headline like this, but coming by way of Yahoo Finance, Futurism on Yahoo Finance, written up by Victor Tangerman. Financial expert says OpenAI is on the verge of running out of money. OpenAI has been in the red for years. We've seen investment deals bail them out of their server costs. They had a sweetheart deal with Microsoft to get cheaper access to Microsoft data centers. And then they wisely threw that away because they wanted to become a for-profit entity. And now they're still burning through money to a degree where we're pretty confident they're going to be in the red and run out of operating cash again, which means they'll probably just throw up another funding round, and then their company will be valued at an even higher ludicrous rate, because it's completely overvalued at the moment. And then they're just going to burn through that cash again with generative AI slop. And I hate to say it, but you can't out Google in this space with the amount of information that Google collects on every user's daily interaction. That's kind of the stuff that AI needs to sort of retrain models and to improve on their telemetry. So I bring this up because this isn't necessarily news in its own. We know they're going to be pouring billions of dollars into their own infrastructure, and we know they're going to be one of the primary companies eating up RAM just so that they can sit on hardware and prevent their competitors access to that same to those same components. But at some point, you do need to kind of show that there's some kind of model in here that can generate revenue. I think investors are increasingly skeptical. They're keeping their money in the tech stocks and in the AI. They want AI in everything, but it's also kind of becoming a problem how little money they're actually making on this stuff while the value of the company keeps going up. So we got this post from OpenAI, our approach to advertising and expanding access to ChatGPT. Ah, that's interesting. From ChatGPT, we've been working to make powerful AI accessible to everyone through our free product and low-cost subscription tier, ChatGPT Go, which was launched in 171 countries since August. Today, we're bringing Go to the US and everywhere ChatGPT is available, giving people expanded access to messaging, image creation, file uploads, and memory for $8 a month. In the coming weeks, we're also planning to start testing ads in the US for the free and Go tiers, so more people can benefit from our tools with fewer usage limits or without having to pay. Plus, man, talking is hard. Plus, Pro, business, and enterprise subscriptions will not include ads. So this is already a ratcheting, an aggressive first step in the impoopification of AI services, as delightfully coined by one Mr. Cory Doctorow. And again, was like the word of the year last year or the year before. There's a cycle. You get people in, you get them excited, you get them using a product, and then you turn against the users. So you make the platform worse for the users so that you can attract some kind of revenue, like advertisers. This is kind of wild that the user adoption of AI tools isn't that high. It's not really high enough and consistent enough to start ratcheting those users, right? Because again, they already have higher tier subscriptions that don't seem to be generating a lot of interest or a lot of revenue. So this is kind of an interruption in that process where, something like a Netflix was a paid only subscription and it got this huge number of users as a paid subscription. Then they could raise prices and introduce ads and people didn't want to give it up. That's not happening with ChatGPT. That's not happening with OpenAI. So I think this is kind of a scramble. How else can we find some revenue? Well, we've got all these freeloaders, am I right? But you see, we hadn't hit that tipping point of popularity where you could really leverage and squeeze those users by making your service less desirable. But in that cycle of impoopification, what happens is advertisers see an opportunity, they jump on the platform, they think they're getting great interactions, they're getting tons of impressions or whatever it is, whatever metric they care about, and then they can kind of, they get squeezed next. So then the platform will squeeze advertisers and users to increase shareholder value. Like, I think YouTube is the perfect example of that. I do not get relevant ads on YouTube. I do not get, Google has all the information on me. They can predict everything that I care about. They can easily algorithm their way into what I would want to do, but they serve me ads that are pain points because they would rather, I guess, they would rather me sign up for like a YouTube premium subscription and then they can keep hiking the price on their subscriptions. And I'll keep paying more just so I don't have to get those terrible ads. And that's the final cycle of impoopification. Even the platform works against even the advertisers. And I don't understand why companies still pour money into advertising on YouTube. They must get so many hits and views and impressions that it seems like it's viable. But I seriously doubt that Google is really doing their best anymore to pair products and services with the people that are the most interested in them. Instead, I feel it's the opposite. It's how can we make this experience so bad for the user that they actually want to pay us to get rid of it. So now we're in the first cycle of that for AI. For ChatGPT. So if you're thinking, hey, I really got to spend some money advertising on ChatGPT, you'll probably get a short-term boom out of this. But then you should wholly expect at some point your money, you're paying money to that service, is going to be weaponized against you. And that your ads are actually going to be paired up with people who are not only not interested in your product, but the ads are going to be targeted in a way where it's to encourage that user to move up a tier to spend more on a subscription. I think that's going to happen wildly fast. So buyer beware, but I do not have a lot of confidence that ChatGPT can survive this. And I think in the next year or two, we're going to see a massive market correction. I would say give it maybe about 2 years. I'm not saying like, oh, you should go out there and short that stock. No one can survive shorting stocks anymore. The market can inflate and raise value on companies generating no profits basically indefinitely. As long as massive corporations, trillion-dollar companies can keep moving money around in the shell game, it's not possible for someone like me to short this stock and not go completely broke in like 6 months. But I'm giving it about 2 years. I'm giving it about 2 years before something like ChatGPT is carved up for parts because they owe so much money and investors have poured so much cash into this company. I do not see an actual exit strategy where they can be financially solvent. It's pretty messed up. Let me take a drink of coffee real quick. Sorry, there's like actual chatter going on here. I might have missed some comments from, again, Restream is kind of keeping me from all of your comments. Oh, actually, real quick, I also have to send a shout out of glory. One Mr. Eugene Debs subscribed with Prime, and they've been subscribed for 39 months. That is amazing, and thank you so much for supporting production on this. With all the restream issues and audio issues and stuff that I've been having, I still haven't gotten my little stream deck working again. I need to get better about like, maybe I just should upload the audio plugins to Restream, and if the audio is gonna bork, at least it borks celebrating that. But you get one hilariously bad a cappella fanfare of glory. And thank you so much for supporting production on this channel, on these streams, on the website. Anyone who is in the live chat sharing content, you know, again, participation matters, and it means a lot to me that you folks want to stick around and listen to me ramble like this. So for Michael C2, it's a complete joke. It's complete mint and manipulation to deprive consumers of RAM and effectively destroy the idea of a personally owned personal computer. It's so gross. I think that has become a viable side effect of the current market pressure. I don't think a lot of these companies went into the idea with cloud computing being the goal, but if they can force cloud computing because you will own nothing and you will subscribe to everything, then, well, you'll want to use these online tools. You'll want to use this AI because you're already subscribing to some kind of cloud service. So I think they've arrived at this idea. I don't think a lot of these companies set out with the idea of destroying the consumer market, destroying our ability to just buy and own individual things. But now they're seeing like, hey, the main way we could force this is if everybody went to cloud PCs, cloud gaming, cloud work, cloud infrastructure, and then our data centers would have a viable subscription business model consumers would have to jump on. I think that's become like the where they've gotten to is now if we can just destroy this market, they'll be forced to come to us, which is real dumb. From Arthur Lee Brown, this might have changed, but a while back I did an article on the price of AI training and found out that the price of training AI roughly doubles each year. And we talked about this a couple months ago. The head of AI at Google, I think in a 5-year time frame, I want to say it was 5 years. According to him, Google's strategies are only going to work if they can bump their compute performance 1,000x. 1,000 times the compute density that they have today over the next 5 years. So that's stupid and impossible. Our planet cannot survive that kind of compute density explosion. And we're definitely not seeing improvements in performance per watt at that scale, where you could just pack more racks and pack more cores into the data center. No, we'd need to radically increase the distribution of data centers and hope that there's magical technological improvements to vastly improve the compute density per data center. So it's the emperor has no clothes. For Google to succeed, we need something magical to happen. As long as we ignore the magical impossible thing, we totally have a viable business strategy. Oh, there's some other comments like Eugene Debs was talking about. I haven't watched this yet. Windows Central just did a whole episode on why does everyone hate Windows so much. I need to watch that. But for me, it's been a lack of competition. I'm not impressed with the current battle between Mac OS and Windows. I am so excited that my daughter's on Ubuntu. I'm tentatively interested in what's going on with Chrome and the Android backbone. Like, there have been these little glimmers of potential, that tiny changes in the market statistically. A 1% difference in user data, a 1% difference in user market share for Linux is millions of people. And that can spread in really interesting ways. So while we've been saying, oh, is this going to be the year of Linux? Well, market forces are actually moving people towards holding on to hardware longer. If they don't get an update to Windows 11, let me tell you, even just something as consumery as Ubuntu runs great on a 10-year-old computer. Like, brand new machine again kind of runs great. And it's just this potential that the market is trying to squeeze us, and we're finding these other solutions instead of just rolling over and letting the market ratchet us. So again, whether or not it is all people are so fed up with Windows, I think a lot of this is also, I'm not thrilled with what's going on with Mac OS. I don't think Apple is really operating in our best interests. Even though they're putting out some great hardware, I just don't care about their total package and how they monetize for their consumers. So there's this potential. There's this interest in the conversation in a way that I haven't seen, that we didn't have like 5 years ago, that we didn't have during the pandemic. It's good. It's good to have this chatter. And especially from an outlet like Windows Central, if they're starting to feel the angst and the frustration, it only helps to serve consumers to see what else we could do. And another example of a business model that I don't think is long-term sustainable, you've got to find ways to monetize when you're launching satellites into space, right? So consumer broadband was never gonna be a viable business model when improving the service requires rocket launches. And I'm so frustrated because if we had just spent all this money on rockets and space and had just rolled out fiber, then most of the country would be on a fiber connection, even in more rural areas. But instead, we're trying to fulfill rural internet demand by launching rockets into space and then having like cheap internet subscription prices. You see how that does not make sense. But that's what we're doing because of gross nepotism in government. Starlink updates privacy policy to allow AI model training with personal data. I got this on coywolf.com, written up by John Henshaw in Startup News. The Elon Musk owned SpaceX satellite internet company Starlink just updated its privacy policy to allow the use of customers' personal information to, quote, train its machine learning or artificial intelligence models, end quote, including for third parties. The change in its policy is opt in by default. So unless you opt out actively, now anything you do on Starlink is fair game. This is already a massive problem. I would highly recommend picking up just some kind of VPN. It's not foolproof. That is not a guarantee that your surfing and the behavior attaching to you is perfectly invisible, but why make it easy? The FTC published a report, when was it, back in 2023 or 2024? I might have the time on that wrong. The FTC published a report saying, hey, anything you do on an internet connection, the ISPs are tracking all of that information and selling off all of your data to anyone that can get their hands on enough money to pay a data broker. So now, Starlink is just making it explicit that not only is everything you do on Starlink gonna train Grok, it's so stupid, I hate Elon Musk so much, is gonna train Grok, they're also just gonna open it up. So if anyone wants to pay them for data, then all of your data will also be supplied to brokers, and third parties can buy all of that behavioral information, and it's so dumb. We have paid for fiber to home many times over, and the industry is still dragging their heels because, the last line, the installation, digging up trenches or going to telephone poles can be a little expensive. But our solutions are fixed wireless, so you'll get the same data speeds as a cell phone, or shooting rockets into space instead of digging a trench. Words fail me on how utterly catastrophic our business market is right now and how anti-consumer all of this policy has become. But, instead of having a functional FCC and FTC that could actually rein in some of these business practices by larger organizations, we went with the Trump administration. So now they're just organizations that go up to the highest bidder. So if you can dump enough money into appeasing this administration, you can get the FTC to do whatever you want for you. The system just works for like 5 billionaires. Oh, WX Romer, I only use Starlink as an emergency backup and when we are on the road with our RV. Musk is a menace to society writ large. So that to me is exactly the kind of solution that satellite should be able to fulfill. Emergency backup, or the worst possible scenario, rural internet kind of solution. And I totally get it. Like, it was a Viasat and HughesNet are not low Earth orbit. They're medium orbit satellites. So the internet connection is horribly slow, tons of lag, tons of latency. Like, it's not good, but it's supposed to be the fallback when like literally nothing else can work. And the appeal of Starlink was, well, those satellites are so much closer, you'll get faster. You'll actually get kind of like reasonable DSL speeds in most of the places where you can find a constellation. The problem is low Earth orbit satellites fall out of the sky a lot. So they're really expensive, and they don't last very long, and you have to keep shooting them up into space. So I just feel like satellite doesn't work as a mainline solution to the problem of connectivity. It doesn't get more people online more cost effectively, even in rural areas, but it's something our government should invest in to find the best balance of some tier of connection and last solution. There's nothing else we can do to fulfill service to this area. We could hook them up to a satellite. So it's just, man, I think we've got our priorities out of whack. Michael C2. Yeah, we need a better nickname for Elon Musk to better explain his douchiness. I can't find the right words. All right. Because in another situation, people have already JGJ like just got right to the point. RAM problem. I'm just so disappointed, but I'm not surprised. Disappointed, not surprised. This headline is coming by way of. Oh, come on, browser. Wow, that just got real funky. IXBT.games. I'm not exactly sure where I saw this. It might have been in like a Google News feed. But from IXBT Games, Samsung to limit memory production growth to 5% despite record demands. You see, all of these companies are eating up RAM. So the cost of RAM is skyrocketing. And a lot of these RAM manufacturers are looking to switch over to data center RAM instead of consumer RAM. Like Micron, crucial memory, no longer going to be made. They just pulled completely out of the consumer sector. So Samsung sees an opportunity, right? Demand is skyrocketing, prices are skyrocketing, so they could increase production to meet that demand. But if they do that, they won't make even more money profiteering on this demand in the market. So instead of raising production to meet the demand, they're only going to raise production a little bit. So that way, prices stay as high as they possibly could, but they are meeting the moment, right? They are increasing production. They're just not going to increase production to a point where they could actually satisfy that demand. They want there to be sort of an artificial constraint on this component, because then people will pay ludicrous amounts of money to get that component. And I bet you there haven't been any direct talks with other manufacturers that make RAM, but something tells me we'll see similar business practices from those other players in the RAM market to make sure there's as much constriction, as much vice clamp on this component as there possibly can be. It is not like this has been a common tactic Samsung has employed throughout the company's entire existence, that whenever a component they manufacture becomes popular, or there's a moment in the market, that they immediately go to price fixing. It's not like I have a 90-minute podcast about how much I despise Samsung as an organization, and that this is time and time and time and time again something that they've been caught doing, that they've paid fines, they've been sent to court, they've had to defend themselves, and they totally do this all the time. No, perish that thought. We want to but you click on my affiliate links to buy the new Galaxy S26. So Samsung is so great, unless it's in a comparison with an iPhone, and then the iPhone will definitely win the comparison because you should use my affiliate links. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. Samsung had the ability to meet this moment, but you know what? Short-term profits are always going to win. And maybe 10 years from now, there will be an examination of this era of technology, and a court will find that Samsung unfairly rigged this market to their own benefit again. I don't have evidence that they are. I am not making that claim. I am saying, though, that this has been a common and consistent tactic to enrich Samsung's bottom line. Maybe 10 years from now, a judge will rule against them in this, after Samsung has exhausted the legal opposition, keeping them in court, spending money, fighting them tooth and nail, and they'll be fined $10 million for their anti-competitive business practices, as it always seems to be. And if we want these situations to get better, you've got to start supporting political initiatives that will rein in the worst business practices of massive corporations. If you're not politically active, Samsung is. Samsung is incredibly politically active. If you're over politics, Samsung isn't. If you're mad about how much your new computer is going to cost, or if you can't get the upgrade you wanted for your laptop, or you're looking at Maybe I want to buy a portable console, but I can't because prices just jumped. Well, let me tell you, you are a victim of politics. But I don't want to do politics in my tech, and everything's so political. It is. All of these massive corporations are basically states unto themselves. Google is its own country with its own economy, and they are very political. Apple is extremely political. Microsoft, super political. Samsung, definitely political, especially in South Korea. They are super into the politics. So if you think you're going to vote with your wallet, try and buy some RAM right now. I'm working on a mini PC where they had to pull out a stick of RAM. That's how much this stuff is costing them. I thought, well, let me just look up how much could it cost to pop in another 16 gig of laptop memory on a mini PC. 50% of the price of the mini PC would be one 16 gig stick of RAM. And that's if I don't want it to match the other manufacturer. The manufacturer of the RAM that's in there, well, that would be even more expensive. It would be unmatched sticks of RAM. I mean, same speeds, but like, I like it when a computer's pretty and all the RAM sticks match. So I've been talking about this. You know, we're on a stream right now where I've got 60 viewers in real time, right? People are so annoyed whenever I bring up politics. Oh, he's a libtard, so political. Well, enjoy paying out the nose for a component that should be pretty basic, because that's where we're at. Boy, just all this winning in politics to get the liberals to cry their lib tears. All that winning is definitely great, super great. So Michael C2, voting for Democrats helps a little bit since we'll have a more friendly FCC and FTC, but they're also still compromised by donations and conflicts. I've not been super impressed by the Democrats' ability to mount an effective blockade against Trump policy, but helping a little bit. I think you're understating how effective the FCC and FTC can be when they're in competent hands. Like when Lena Khan was the head of the FTC, we started getting active, effective consumer protections in the FTC, and she just didn't have enough time to really entrench more of that policy. And again, just like from the first Trump administration, where Ajit Pai was the head of the FCC and they gutted net neutrality and they went after consumer protections and they blocked initiatives like easy to cancel subscriptions, I think you're underestimating how much that matters. At the Senate level, totally agree with you. Our senators suck. Most of our House of Representatives completely weak-willed and ineffective. But when we have regulatory agencies able to mount actual and substantive, that's not a word, opposition to massive tech corporations, that's the only way we can rein them in. You cannot rein in Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook. You can't rein them in with general little consumer voting with your wallet initiatives. You need actual opposition. And right now, that's the EU. We saw some tentative market pushback in Australia. We saw a little regulatory pushback in Japan. But until the United States also gets on board, we're proper screwed. And this is going to get way worse until we can get regulators actively investigating the harms in these markets. And that's not going to happen with this administration in place. It's going to get way worse. Batten down the hatches, y'all. I don't even know if that's the right sailing phrase. I've already missed like thumb on the scale, and now I'm saying, oh, batten the hatch. I don't know. I'm not into a lot of that sailing stuff. Andrew, if Andrew is still listening, he would probably be able to correct my nautical grammar on that. Okay. DTNL. My only gripe with the FCC is that the FCC won't let Eminem be. Let me be me, so let me see. I needed that indeed, yeah. Ah, it was getting dark. I don't need to spend a lot of time on this one. Please check this out over on Futurism, written up by Joe Wilkins. Meta lays off thousands of VR workers as Zuckerberg's vision fails. No one wants to work in a VR headset. Apple Vision Pro, Samsung XR, no one wants to do this. Where I have a beautiful gaming monitor and a beautiful art monitor, and I can plug a laptop in and have like a triple display. I'm working off of a desktop. This is work. I don't want to put a $3,000 headset on my face to do what, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't even think the Innocens were not that expensive. It's probably less than $2,000 if I were to shop them today. And I have the ability to kind of move around this and my face isn't getting all sweaty. Like, no one wants to work in VR. That is the stupidest pitch you can give for an immersive headset that then also does pass through. Like, that's so stupid. I'm gonna use cameras so I can see my room, but then float screens in my room and pay a premium for that. So this is frustrating because Meta acquired Oculus and then kind of bounced out the idea of VR as entertainment and started talking about metaverse, and we'll all exist as these cartoony avatars of ourselves and we'll go to work and go shopping in the VR space. And no one wants that. I don't want to shop in VR. Shopping on a web browser is already not great because of how crappy search has gotten. I don't want to physically move through, not physically, digitally move through virtual three-dimensional spaces to shop. That is not what we want. So I would be very concerned about Meta's current commitment to VR. They're trying to now bandwagon on AR and AI because then that's going to verify or validate their investments in AI, and you'll put glasses on your face and they can rake all of your user data and everyone else's data by having cameras everywhere that cameras shouldn't be. I think that is gross and I think it's creepy, and just like Google Glass back in the day, people don't want that. People don't want this idea that cameras are on everybody's faces in every private situation that they can be in. I want to push back against that idea. My favorite examples of glasses don't have cameras on them. I want it to be obvious when you pick up a camera that someone can see a camera is actively being used, right? So we should keep an eye on it. I definitely feel it's there are roughly 1,500 employees from its Reality Labs division. As part of the layoff, 3 VR game studios were shuttered. Meta's online game VR game platform is still running, but Horizon Worlds took a big hit, and it's running with diminished capacity. And overall, the layoffs impact nearly 10% of the division's total staff, which is a drastic cut, which comes as part of the company's shift away from VR towards AI devices. Everything Facebook touches goes through this rapid cycle where it starts out cool, they buy it, and then they turn it to crap. I don't spend time on Instagram anymore. Instagram used to be a fun thing that like I could see in real time what my friends were doing, and there was location stuff and you could check in, and like it was silly and it was fun, and I hated that they focused on the iPhone because you needed the best cameras and you didn't want to be polluted with Android garbage. But every single time Facebook picks something up or builds something like Threads, you know it's gonna cycle to crap. And here again, VR is a niche entertainment experience. It is not a mainstream solution. And Oculus really needed to live in the nerd space, in the beta space, in the developer kit space for longer. But Facebook bought them up and then tried to push and go mass market, got a bunch of people on the Quest 2, a cheap VR headset, right? All the nerds that would come to me and say, well, who could spend so much money on an Index? What you need is a Quest because it's good enough and it's cheap. And right now, there are more Quests out there than Xbox, current Xbox Series S, Series X combined. But who's really using them? And now they're cutting their investments in game development and entertainment development. It's going to crap. I'm not excited for the Steam Frame just because it's going to be a VR headset. I'm excited for the Steam Frame because Steam has shown they can move the needle on Linux gaming like they did with the Steam Deck. SteamOS on my little Geekom mini PC runs like butter. It is a beautiful little 1080p with compromises gaming console that you can just bolt to the back of a TV. It is brilliant. You should definitely give it a try if you're nerdy enough to install a Linux distro. But I'm excited for the Steam Frame because I feel they could move the needle on Android emulation for PC gaming in a way that no one else can. The best way for me to support that is to buy a Steam Frame, and then I'll have a more current capability to run Beat Saber and Half-Life Alyx. Right now, my VR solutions are not great. So anyway, we definitely feel for Meta employees and the layoffs, and that is a bummer. But I don't know how to keep spelling this out for people. If you like something that Facebook has, expect it to turn to crap. Like it now, you dig on Threads. Cool, enjoy Threads, but you know it's gonna be crap. At some point, probably sooner rather than later. You know what? I don't have enough details on this to go too deep, but I hope folks will check this article written up by Ryan Whitman over at Ars Technica. Many Bluetooth devices with Google Fast Pair vulnerable to WhisperPair hack. So the way that earbuds can talk to an Android phone to quickly pair is apparently not completely in line with Bluetooth security. There have been exploits that can kind of get into that handshake, that pairing situation. Even the Google Buds, even the Pixel Buds themselves are vulnerable to this WhisperPair hack. And it's a pretty gnarly little hack if someone is trying to target another user. It's not great. The frustrating thing for this isn't, well, we need to update our phones. Apparently, the way that this hack works is that we need to update the earbuds. And so this is one just to kind of keep on your radars. Maybe you're talking to your family and friends. Maybe they've got some OnePlus buds or some Pixel buds or some Galaxy buds. Encourage them to download the apps for each of these earbuds so that they can make sure they're on up-to-date firmware. If we can update the buds, we can diminish the seriousness of this exploit. But until we get people actually interacting with the app that you can get the update from, we're going to be in kind of a weird place. Again, how this is exploited, again, I'm rambling here a bit, but how this is exploited, I think someone has to be deliberately targeted, not just, sorry, I'm not doing a good job of explaining this, but like you've got to kind of prey in on someone. Whether or not someone is a viable enough target, I don't know how serious this exploit will be out in the wild, but it is serious enough that I would recommend we talk to our family and friends, get them to update apps, get them to update firmwares, do all of that maintenance-y stuff that average consumers don't want to do, and hopefully we can kind of stem this. I'm hoping there can be something from the phone side, like an Android, a Google Play Services update that can work with the Bluetooth, work with these other accessories manufacturers, and find some other solution to head off some of this exploit. I'm not sure how viable that is though, and I'm just really disappointed. Yet another shortcut to ease of use is being exploited. It was never difficult opening your Bluetooth settings and pushing a button for 3 seconds to get it into pairing mode and manually pairing earbuds to a phone. I still do that a lot, even with all of this fast pair whiz bang gadgetry. That's still something I routinely have to do because I switch phones, I switch earbuds, I switch headphones, I switch DACs. Yeah, I can try and fast pair and link it to my Google account and hopefully it'll transfer stuff over, and that doesn't really work. The convenience doesn't really work when you push it a little bit. So this notion, like, it's got to be just like Apple, where I open it and then the phone sees it and it does it all for me. I kind of hate how reductive, like how infantilizing our tech needs to be. Because it's just so hard. It's just so hard, guys. Open up your, who could even open up their Bluetooth settings? Who can even do that? Just want to shake people. And then I want to end on a bummer. As if this podcast wasn't bummer enough. Oh, WX Romer is saying Shock's app has not yet updated their firmware from what I can tell. I mean, again, you're going to have to go manufacturer by manufacturer and hope that they are looking at how this works so that they can fix their products. And that's only if we trust, because it might have been a situation where maybe the Shock's team doesn't need to update. Maybe they already plugged the potential vulnerability of a fast pair hack, right? But do we know? The company's gonna have to put out like a press release or a blog post, just something, and say like, hey, you might have noticed at Shock's, we haven't updated our bone conduction headsets because we were already blah, 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 blah. We were already compliant with the security of Bluetooth to make sure that this handoff was properly safeguarded. Like, until companies start saying stuff, we just have to wait and see who updates, who doesn't, and is that serious enough for us to make different purchasing recommendations. And that is exhausting. Anyway, moving on. Wrapping with a bummer. Asus confirms they are exiting the smartphone market. Several of these posts were shared on the private Discord, my Patreon private Discord. I'm choosing Mikhail over on GSM Arena. Asus chairman, I don't know how exactly to pronounce this, Johnny Shi or Joni Shi, confirmed that the brand is not planning any new smartphone releases during a special event gala at the Taipei Nangang Exhibition Center. According to reports, Asus will focus its resources and R&D on commercial PCs and physical AI, i.e. robotics and smart glasses. I hate this branding. Ooh, it's not agentic AI, it's physical AI. Sorry, back to the article. The brand will still offer maintenance, software updates, and warranty services for existing phones. She also stated that Asus reached, their financials and stuff like that doesn't matter. So Zenfone was already on life support. The ROG phone, I don't think was a driving economic force. In fact, in gaming phones, unfortunately, if you say what you care about is the most brutal performance of that generation of hardware, I wouldn't have recommended Asus. I would have recommended a Red Magic, knowing that every year you should flip your Red Magic, take a loss on the value of that phone, but to get software updates, you just got to buy a new phone. But still, if you're telling me what you wanted was the most powerful device of its generation, active cooling was the win. So it was sad because like Zenfone used to be something that you could recommend, especially for folks who liked smaller and more medium-sized devices. And then Zenfone and ROG kind of just started sharing the same frame, probably to reduce costs. They tried to pull an LG. Remember, LG for the V60 and the Velvet went to one kind of panel. So LG could make one OLED that fit the V60, the Velvet, the Wing, and the dual display case for the V60 and the Velvet. And they could just use that one same form factor across multiple devices and accessories. And I think that's what Asus tried to do. The problem is, and I was kind of griping about this on Blue Sky of all places, the problem is these companies offer a phone in the United States, but there's like no traditional marketing. I have seen one ROG phone out in the wild in the last year. And hilariously, there's in my neighborhood, there's a glassware smoke shop. And the proprietor of that glassware smoke shop uses an older ROG. It's the only one I've ever seen out in the wild. Not in the hands of like a techie, but like this is a person who I'm assuming is not a YouTube tech reviewer and actually owns, handles, and uses an ROG out in public. I've only seen one. I've seen a bunch of other devices. I've only seen one ROG. So I'm just tired of this entirely predictable failure in the market. We offer this phone in the United States, and there's a place on our website where you can buy it. And who's gonna know it exists? No one knows that Zenfone or ROG phone exists. No one. Asus fans barely recognize that this company also makes other products like phones. It is so frustrating that we can't try, make an effort. You're telling me that this is an incredible gaming experience, could also be your phone. There is an audience for that, and there are people who would care about that. And you've never bothered to tell them that your product exists. So it's just really, really frustrating. I'm hoping that in this turn, while Asus is talking, hey, we're gonna make physical AI products, guys. It's like AI, but it's like physical hardware. So stupid. At the same time, they've also announced an initiative where they might manufacture RAM, consumer RAM. I'm hoping that that seems to be something that can offer us some relief from companies like Micron pulling Crucial from the consumer market. But I am afraid that for them to spin up their own ability to fab RAM, that what's going to happen is they're going to look at market prices and just say, well, ours are the same price as what the market can sustain. So they can make a ton of money on that RAM to pay off the investment in being able to make RAM. I don't think they're going to be able to provide much economic relief. But if they get in now and they can sustain in the market as prices hopefully adjust and come back to reality, they can be a player in that market and make sure that a Samsung can't just rig the whole market whenever they feel like it. That's my hope. But that's like a 5-year hope, not a 6 months kind of hope. It's really, really sad. From Rob Aarons, Red Magic sells natively in the US too, and I bet there are more Vivo and Oppo users in the US. That is absolutely true. I would be willing to bet money if we could get granular user data that there are more people with SIM cards in Vivos, like me, than SIM cards in Red Magic phones in the United States. Brian Glaze, yeah, it's weird. They have a solid social media team, but their marketing is not great. I think they've completely dropped the ball on that. So I brought this up just as like a funny little thing to comment on. GSM Arena, again for Mikhail over at GSM Arena, Galaxy S26 Ultra will be offered in these 4 colors. Because they have like the SIM card trays from the Galaxy S26 Ultra. And then again, they've got a lineup of phones based on those colors. Apparently, we're not going to get orange. We're going to get a black, kind of a white, not a pearl, but kind of like a white ceramic look, a purple, and a light sky baby blue. But I guess we're not going to get orange. Orange, you glad I didn't say banana. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is, I don't know if anyone noticed the end of last week, there was like an explosion of Galaxy S26 videos on YouTube. No one's got the device, but, oh, leaks and rumors, and now we know what the specs will be. I was kind of just farting around and like landed on someone's live stream where they were reacting to videos of other people reading off the rumored specs of the Galaxy S26 lineup. And I gotta tell you, if this is what the trend is in tech YouTube right now, there's a reason why, one, I'm totally failing at the tech YouTube game, and two, while I'll never succeed at it, because it makes me want to smash my face into my keyboard as ruthlessly hard as I possibly could with tactical anger. I'm watching this guy watch this video, and he'd read a spec, and then in between every feature, he'd compare it to an iPhone, why the iPhone was better, and then at the end of every spec, every feature, he'd throw out the lazy engagement bait. But what do you think, guys? Do you think it's good if Samsung improves their camera? Drop a comment down below. Do you think better cameras on phones are gonna be good for consumers? But what do you think, guys? Do you think it's good if they make the screen better on the Galaxy S26? Do you think consumers will want better screens? And I'm watching this live feed, and then the guy has to comment on the question, and then to his own audience is asking questions like, I don't know, guys, but would you use a privacy filter on an Ultra phone? And like, is this what YouTube is? I'm not watching a lot of these bigger YouTube channels anymore, right? I've buggered off. I've given up. YouTube is a cesspool wasteland of popularity marketing at this point, right? So I can usually predict. If someone says like, hey, this new phone's coming out, what do you think Mr. Who's the Boss or Marquez is gonna say? I'll write out a reply, and then someone else will in the comments will be like, yeah, that's kind of what he said. Like if it's a OnePlus, you can always like, well, it's better than all these other phones, but this one thing is the deal breaker. And then he has to get real sad about not being able to recommend a OnePlus ever again, right? How many times has that played out? I don't need to watch his video. It's eminently predictable based on the search data that you can pull up on Google Analytics. Google Trends can give you the conclusion to a Mr. Who's the Boss video every single time. But I'm watching him watch these other videos, and it's like, but I don't know, guys, what do you think? Do you think it's good if this phone is better than the last phone? Drop a comment down below. Do you think people want better phones? Or do you think, like, people would be fine with worse phones? What do you think? But, like, that's the level of engagement question that you're getting. I don't know, guys. Do you think it's good if this phone has a bigger battery than the phone it replaced? Like, do you think that matters? Do you think people would want a bigger battery? What do you think? Point after point after point after point. I'm doing this totally wrong. I need to keep my videos the same, but then be like, what do you think, guys? Do you think like you want a better fingerprint scanner in this phone? Do you think that that's a good thing? I can't. I can't do it. I'm making fun of it now, and I can't even make fun of it to a point of how ridiculously bad it was watching the video this guy was watching. And then still like, but do you think it's good that this phone has a bigger battery? Because like an iPhone can last almost as long, and it's got a smaller battery. So battery size isn't that important. And you're like, well, one, that's completely not true. Battery size is critically important. Two, charge speed, critically important to the user experience. And three, the phone that you're talking about definitely lasts longer than the iPhone. Like, it's not, that's not a controversial thing to say. But you've rigged this idea of iPhone is always the winner because most of my audience are iPhone fans. And do you think it's good if another phone has a bigger battery than the iPhone? I don't know, guys. What do you think? So I don't care about the Galaxy S26. The Galaxy S26 line of phones is going to be a retread of the same Galaxy S series we've basically gotten since the S20. This is going to be the 6th generation of tiny iterative changes and differences. It's not going to be a remarkable difference. It's going to be a new chip from Qualcomm in some regions, maybe a new Exynos, and then price hikes. There's your Galaxy S26 commentary. That's it. There might be a feature to talk about. And if you have a Galaxy S23 Ultra, you're still in great shape. Like literally, you still have a class-leading device. And you probably have some lifestyle quality of life features that the new S26 Ultra will lack because costs got too high and Samsung's only making money on RAM and storage right now. So they're not going to put any money into making their phones better. But they will raise prices on you. So I don't know. I guess that's my Galaxy S26 commentary there. Now you know. But what do you think, guys? Do you think it's okay for Samsung to make the same phone for 6 years in a row? Drop a comment down below. What do you think? Do you think people care about getting a new phone, or do you think they just want the same phone that they've always had? I'm really gonna read all of your comments. I totally will. It's not just so that you click below my videos and write comments and thumbs up my videos and smash my bell icons. I'm really curious. I'm very active and will totally engage with all of your hot takes on what you think about making a better phone. Do you think they should make a better phone? I don't know. Maybe they don't need. Maybe they shouldn't make a. Maybe they should make a worse phone and charge more for it. And already, I've just given you more. From Rob, but Juan, they've just invented 60-watt charging and upped the battery by nearly 250 milliamps. But do you think it? Do you think? What do you guys think? Do you think it should have a bigger battery? From Darcy, sure, it's the same phone, but I'm all about the unboxing experience. Oh, it's so fun when you get this $1,400 phone and it's in like a paper sleeve and you take off the top and then that's the phone and that's all there is. Because let me tell you, oh, I don't have the box over here right now. I think I had it downstairs. This is my Segway, as inelegant and as clumsy as a Segway is. As we wrap up this week's show, the high point for me has definitely been spending a little time with this bad boy right here. This is the Xiaomi 17 Ultra Leica Edition. We Leica the Leica red dot. And I've spent a weekend shooting a lot on it. There are already a few little concerns in the trade-offs from the... Oh, do I have my 15? I think I do. Yeah, it's right back here. So this is my Xiaomi 15 Ultra, and this is the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, and we're pros and conings this year. I've said this before. I said it a lot last year, and I think I'm going to be saying it a lot this year too. A phone from 2024 probably still had a lot of good arguments to be waged against a phone from 2025. It was not... I can't think of a single phone that was just across the board, one-to-one, massive improvements. I don't think that's what we got in 2025. And I think for a lot of manufacturers, we're going to be seeing that again in 2026, which means the Xiaomi 17 Ultra's competition isn't just from phones this year, it's also from phones from last year and from phones the year before. Depending on your needs, depending on your wants, and depending on the features that you care about, the Xiaomi 17 Ultra could lose to the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. That's 2 generations back, right? This is going to be a really difficult year for consumers. So, some of the things that I appreciate, the Xiaomi 17 Ultra isn't just a repeat of the 15 Ultra. Xiaomi is trying to introduce technologies that are different. In how they're delivering those technologies, I can't say they're always better than what you can do with a 15 Ultra, but they're at least trying. So I'm going to give them the credit for trying. But I've been shooting pretty heavily on the 17 Ultra. I am a little just in these early days because like this has only gotten that initial first like OTA kind of maintenance update just from launch. And this is the Chinese ROM edition of the 17 Ultra, so I'm not like fully tied into all the Google services and Android Auto and all that other stuff too. Performance is very good. The cameras are excellent. I don't think anyone's going to argue. It is stupid to even pretend that this isn't one of the top camera phones of 2026. But it needs just a bit more polish and optimization. Like I'm a little concerned about battery life because I'm not leaning on this as my main daily driver phone. But even in airplane mode, just using the cameras and for how powerful this chip is, I am running into some of those situations where I'm a little concerned about how much battery draw I'm seeing when I'm going out shooting samples, shooting video, stuff like that. And when you combine the whole lifestyle of the product with the photography of the product, I do feel like that's going to be kind of a tough comparison point against Vivos and Oppos and Honors and Huawei's. Right now, those are the sort of winning camera devices, right? It's not Google, Apple, Samsung. It's Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, Huawei, Honor. Sorry, that got clumsy. Camera sensors are awesome. I am so happy to be back on a 1-inch type sensor. It's just, there's something about the character of a photo from that wide, I mean, it's still a 23 millimeter wide angle camera. There's just something about the character of what you capture and how it feels and what makes it look more photographic. That kind of experience is just really difficult to express when so many people pick up a phone and it's like a photo of my lunch or just a really basic full body shot in portrait orientation so that you can see that I was at a place, right? Like if I'm running around Vegas and I want to take a photo in front of a casino and someone just takes like a full body shot of me at a medium distance so you can see the casino behind me, it's tough to express like what makes that image look more photographic because there was no care or composition in that photo. It's not going to look more photographic. But doing things like just taking a head and shoulders photo or like I just got a random shot of Lex, like she was sitting on this little parking divider, like one of those little like cement poles so that people can't like drive into a building kind of a thing. She just kind of sat on one of those. We were waiting for a softball lesson. I got a photo of the back of her head just looking out at like a shopping complex. And it's like the look of that image looks like it came from a proper camera. It doesn't look like a phone photo. And Vivos get close and Oppos are really good, but there's just something about the texture and the depth of field and the focus fall off and the bokeh that I can't get from any other phone with a smaller image sensor. I can get that from my Vivo X100 Pro. I can't get it from my X200 Pro, even though the X200 Pro's main camera takes phenomenal images. So it is so nice whenever I get to come back to the Xiaomi Ultras. I almost always still have it. Here's my 13 Ultra, and here is my 12S Ultra. And if you forced me at gunpoint to pick up a phone and you said you can only use your Xiaomi 12S Ultra or the brand newest Pixel 10 Pro XL, I would take the 12S Ultra all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. Because the optical hardware matters to me. This is already going to be a point that I'm going to belabor in my camera review because I am going to do a camera deep dive on the 17 Ultra here. I think one of the concerns I have in this sensor strategy is really for close-up and medium distance photography. There is no macro on the 17 Ultra. It is my passion, my hobby. I love crawling in the dirt and getting close-ups on bugs and snail shells and flowers. And that's something that the 15 Ultra does really well because it has the fourth camera sensor. The fourth camera sensor isn't great in a medium distance, but it's really nice for close-up photography. There is no close focus on any of the sensors on the 17 Ultra unless you're doing like a radical crop of each sensor. So the really impressive engineering and manufacturing to make this telephoto lens assembly, so cool. It is cool, it is techie, it is awesome to see how that has been arrived at in a phone with a sensor this large. I think it's very impressive, and Xiaomi deserves a ton of credit for what they've been able to accomplish. But when I want to get close to something, a flower, a human face, like you want to get a photo of someone's eye, you know, like the kinds of taking a subject apart kinds of photography that I love about macro, really good macro shots, Xiaomi isn't going to do it. So that's going to be something that I really harp on because it is such a passionate hobby of mine. But it's one of the reasons, like, I will probably reach for a 15 Ultra over the 17 Ultra, just knowing that I've got the more well-rounded collection of parts, even though there are some advantages and wins in the 17 Ultra over the 15 Ultra. I also have a lot of data. I've already been collecting, you know, photo performance, the data rate that our video goes through, the capabilities of the sensors. I'm a little concerned about Xiaomi's raw files. I don't know that we're using all of this hardware to its best. Like, we're not pushing this hardware to its limits. I think there's more we could be doing with Xiaomi hardware, but the 17 Ultra has already made a very positive impression. I'm still unsure that the Leica Edition is the one to get. This ring, so as you move this ring around, it took 2 tries again. Oh, see, I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong, but when you move that dial, it's supposed to launch the camera app, and it does it sometimes, which means I'm not doing it exactly the way that it's supposed to be done, that it's sensitive to something and I don't understand what that is. It's the same problem that I had with when Oppo gave us that capacitive shutter button. A double click on the power button has worked the best. Out of any Android phone I've ever used, double-clicking a tactile button launches the camera app has been the most consistently available. And let me tell you, especially opposite iPhone owners, I'll be out at the park, I'll be playing with my daughter, double-click the button, take the photo with the volume rocker, put the phone right back in my pocket, and I'm good. I took a photo, my daughter did something cool, it was fun, candid, awesome. And when you see iPhone owners try and like hit the shortcut on their screen and get into the camera app faster, it does not work. So I want that immediacy. The phone is such an immediate device that you reach for. The ring there, it didn't do it. Turn it sideways. Okay, maybe it's that I'm not always perfectly in landscape orientation, but do you see that action? So if it's a double press of the power button, the camera is already on by the time I've held the phone up, and I can just click the volume rocker and I take the photo. If I have to pull the phone out of my pocket, make sure it's in landscape orientation, then twist, and it didn't do it. This is driving me crazy. I'm trying to predict what I'm doing wrong and I can't figure it out. So there's gonna be a lot to talk about in the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. My initial experiences, I don't think the global version is really going to be a significant compromise. The concern I have is when we put other cases and mounts, are we going to be able to preserve the ring action anyway? So you notice I've got this crazy plate on my 13 Ultra, and I've got this crazy ring on my 15 Ultra, and I have a plate that goes on the 15 Ultra to be like my 13 Ultra. And I can screw in lenses and filters, and I can change. This is a proper camera by the time I'm done augmenting it, right? And it's still more convenient and accessible than always carrying a mirrorless camera with me at all times. So if I put a big plate on the 17 Ultra, am I going to be able to preserve the action of this dial anyway? So do I go out of my way to buy the more expensive mechanical version of this with an extra feature or accessory
if I can't use that feature when I want to put on filters or lenses. Putting ND filters on a phone is pretty great. I think for me, and again, if I were spending money on these products, I would probably still veer towards the regular and the global 17 Ultra instead of the Leica edition. Some of the Leica software stuff is really cool, but the main thing that I care about in terms of the operation and performance, I think are going to be well covered on both phones. Is just whether or not you want the novelty of this ring or you want the flexibility of having filters and other threads. Again, I'm going to speak about that more more intelligently when I can finish a video on this phone. Bionic Scoop. What's wrong with carrying a mirrorless everywhere or a 120 film TLR? Well, Scoop, I mean, you take the photos you take. I take photos of like snails and flowers and stuff. And I don't want to carry even my Lumix with like a, what would be a good, like a 60 millimeter f 2.8? Nah, I don't want that. I don't want to have to carry that when my phone is probably competitive with that micro four thirds kind of setup. So, as we wrap this up, we're now properly at 2 hours. I'm spending some time with the Xiaomi 17 Ultra Leica Edition. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it. I might not. I have to send a huge shout out, a huge thank you. This is a loaner, and I'm borrowing this from Average Dad Tech. Average Dad runs a storefront where you can pick up some of these different devices. They will ship import phones to the United States, a competitor to some of the other stores and platforms. I had a lovely meet and greet with the folks at Average Dad at Showstoppers at CES and nerded out hard on various. I was rocking my Vivo Pro. Dude comes out, Average Dad, yeah, but what about this Xiaomi? What about the 17 Ultra? And if I go hands-on again with the 17 Ultra, it's gonna be from a global model. You know, like when I went on the 15 Ultra, this isn't the Chinese version, it's the global edition. And he immediately went, no, you're gonna borrow mine. So I have to send a huge thank you because I wouldn't be covering this phone as early as I'm covering it now if it hadn't been for him just like forcing the phone in my hands to like, you've got to try this phone. That's the kind of nerd love, right? That nerd engagement we really get into. It's so, no, you got to try it. You got to try this, dude. You got to try it. And he was really intent. He was really lit up about it. So check out Average Dad. I have to send that huge thank you just for the early participation here. It's really lovely getting to meet some other geeks that care more than just, I took a picture of this fire hydrant and you can tell by the pixels, it's not as good as an iPhone photo. Let me kind of wrap this up because I got to get going and I got to go take care of my wife here. Ryan from Android Police did a great video on the P30 Pro and one of the Pura devices. I really need to spend some time with a new Huawei because those camera sensors look ridiculous. I don't always love Huawei processing. I think they get a little too crunchy and contrasty. Color can look really funky if you're, I think it's heavy-handed, but the hardware just looks ridiculous. Brian Billings replying to Michael, absolutely, I'm a gearhead and like upgrading. If when they finally do some real upgrades, like a big telephoto sensor like the Vivo X300 Pro, I'll be upgrading. I just feel like as much as we like pixel processing, especially for darker skin tones, there was a conversation, one of the members on the private Patreon just had their first child, and he's trying to take photos of his new baby with a Samsung, and he's darker complexion, and the Samsung is totally washing out skin tone. And he's like, there's nothing I can do here except shoot raw and like edit it so it looks accurate. And that's a situation where I would say like, you might wanna go pixel. Even for how much I love Vivo and Oppo and Xiaomi, they're guilty of a lot of brightening and whitening too, right? In a kind of systemically racist kind of way. As much as I love what a Pixel can do with different skin tones and getting the accuracy on that right, even my mixed skin, which isn't attractive, I like that it's accurate. I just can't hang with Google's reluctance to bump up the hardware quality and to bring us more current hardware. That they're settling into the same coasting as Apple and Samsung. Ooh, Apple finally gave us a real periscope. And you're like, yeah, but here's a phone that's going to cost less than an iPhone Pro Max. And the telephoto on this is shockingly good and is almost as big as the main camera sensor on the iPhone Pro Max. Why would I give that up? It is so good. So anyway, it's just frustrating that we're kind of stuck in this holding pattern because there's really no competition unless you import a phone. Future, it's here. How's the battery life? Again, I've been using it mostly for photography and I've been a little concerned. I don't think the Xiaomi is going to be a battery champ, and I don't think you should buy it if you're wanting the absolute longest running, bestest battery. Unfortunately, I feel like we're going to have to make those kinds of decisions and compromises where maybe it's an Oppo if you want a high performance phone with epic battery life, or if you want good battery life, but you know it's going to tank when you start hitting that phone harder, but you'll get better cameras, right? I feel like we're going to have to make some divisions in our expectations there. Oh, from Rob Aarons. AD has the coolest phones. I've been really impressed. I am considering another purchase for a phone to cover, and I'm especially after this interaction, it means a lot when you get to meet the people behind the store, and they were cool, and so I might buy from AD. I'm not saying anything more about that until I finally decide whether or not I want to pull the trigger. But it was a really, really great interaction meetup. Again, it was properly nerdy, and that's the best. Future, it's here. Average Dad is really passionate. I love him and his store, and also his YouTube channel. Go check out the Average Dad YouTube channel. Again, obviously they want to sell more phones, but they are actively showing, he's actively showing, like, this is what I do with the phone. So again, for a lot of his photography needs, I think the Xiaomi actually fits his needs better than what I can do on the Vivo X300 Pro. But the Vivo X300 Pro definitely meets some of my needs more with like close-up detail photography and macro shots. If you want to see some of the examples of the macro shots that I've already been taking, I dropped some photos in the private chat on my Patreon, and you can see some of those comparisons, Xiaomi 17 Ultra versus Vivo X300 Pro, because I love taking flower shots. Oh, Brian Glaze, Samsung definitely washes my skin tone. I think it's unfortunately systemically common for a lot of people to complain about how Apple and Samsung handle skin. And I think Pixel is still the best there. That's one of the few victories I can give Pixel processing. Now, if only I could get that Pixel processing on a massive telephoto sensor, the portraits would be incredible. The head and shoulder, depth of field, beautiful skin, and I wouldn't have to tinker with it. And the way that a Pixel can bring out like chocolatey tones and bronze highlights and just like good color, that would be awesome. And Google won't give it to me. So, folks, thank you so much. This was an amazing show, but I really got to get going. So stay tuned. Later this week is going to be a really nerdy announcement about something that I saw at CES. I can't tell you when, but an embargo will be lifting this week, and I think you'll really dig it. I've got hands-on with a new mini PC from Geekom that, again, we're seeing some market forces and some pros and cons, but I think is a really cool way to kind of address home computer needs and some higher level use like gaming. Xiaomi 17 Ultra in-house, and I am going to be circling back to, if I can find them, they are still on my desk. I'm going to be circling back to the Pocos. So I finished a video on the Poco M8 Pro, but I also have the Poco M8. And I think this helps us define what a nicer, but an entry-level experience should resemble. So then that gives us a better baseline when we start talking about mid-rangers and phones like the OnePlus 15R. Well, that's now a more premium entry, right? So what should we expect from a phone that costs sub $300, sometimes in some markets sub $200? And I want to spend a little time just kind of setting our perspective properly. 2026 is going to be a rough year, but we are seeing some decent improvements in the entry level and mid range, because that's where companies have some room to make some of these component decisions and arrive at a product that's still very cost effective for what it does. So, folks, I hope you have an amazing week. I want you to do awesome with your technology. I want you to be awesome with your technology. And I'll catch everybody back here next week for another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Check in. Talk to your friends and family. Keep a grasp on that mental health with all the craziness going on around us. We need you to be the good tech neighbor I know you can be. It is rough out there, and it's gonna get rougher. And your family does not know how your nerdy enthusiast passion for hobbyist electronics could really come in clutch, could save them headaches, could save them time, could save them money. We gotta be there for them. Otherwise, it's just massive corporations looking to rip them off. We don't want that. You don't want that. They don't want that. They might not know or fully appreciate that that's what you can do, but we gotta be there. So I'll catch you back next week. Take care, be safe. I love you all, and I'll catch you back.